Welcome to In the Moment with Kortia, where we inform, inspire, and motivate you to be a positive agent of change. Good morning on this thriving Thursday. And good morning to each and every one of you out there under the sound of my voice. Central Louisiana and the surrounding areas. That's Natchitoches, Gina, Alexandria on 88.1 FM. Monroe, West Monroe on 98.9 FM. Shreveport, Greenwood on 92.5 FM. St. Joseph, Natchez, Mississippi on 99.3 FM. And Lake Charles on 100.1 FM. And on this thriving Thursday, we have in the house with us today returning Danielle Bailey.
Good morning, you guys.
Good morning. And for those of you that may not have heard Danielle a couple of weeks ago, I mean, she is the owner-operator of the Freedom Therapy Center, LLC. I mean, like for over the past 15 years, Danielle has actually traveled and gained, wow, really a great wealth of knowledge, wisdom, and experience in the field of social work and mental behavior and health. I mean, I'm going to definitely call her the financial guru in the house with us today. And look, Danielle really is going to be bringing it for, all of you that may be actually struggling in some areas of, your personal finances. And I tell you, the last time she was with us, she really broke it down to where I had to think about, man, I never even thought about it that way when it comes to things dealing with your finances. So, Danielle, I'm not even going to try to hold you back or what have you. But, I mean, I think, the topic that we're really going to talk about today is going to be, how to discover, poor money management behaviors. And, from that title, it kind of sounds like, things that are like really elusive to where, it's something that could just be, how did Paul say that yesterday or last night? I didn't see it because it was right in my face. I think that's what he actually said. I didn't see it because it was right in my face. So, I mean, Danielle, as far as like, how to discover poor money management behaviors, I mean, how important is it to actually have, when you're discovering these behaviors, the right type of mindset or a positive mindset?
Like, it's very, very, very important for us to actually have a positive mindset and actually to understand like our money management behaviors and stuff like that, because either we're going to learn how to properly deal with money or we're not. And so a lot of times we have a lot of poor money management behaviors and things of that nature. So if we can identify those, we can solve a lot of trouble that we're actually going through with money. And having a positive mindset is key. Like, if you think negative, of course, everything is going to come negative towards you. So really just understanding, like, I can get out of this mess. I made it, I can get out of it. Mm-hmm. So really just focusing on the positive and not necessarily just dwelling on the negative.
Well, let me ask you this, just because some people may not even realize that, they're in a certain situation, what are actually some examples of poor money management behaviors?
I would say this, poor money management behaviors. I was going to the gas station all the time. In the beginning, what I do is, and I want to say this, y'all, get y'all a notebook because I have like a whole like page of stuff that I really want to talk about.
Oh,
and
she's got it written down for y'all.
When I say I'm excited about it. But first of all, how I help people identify is I ask them to bring 3 bank statements to me. Mm-hmm. And when you bring those 3 bank statements to me, you need to bring 3 highlighters. And so what we're going to do is we're going to highlight, we're going to highlight the necessities. Mm-hmm. So the necessities is like your food, your gas, and then we're going to highlight your bills like in a different color. And then we're going to highlight the last thing is stuff that you don't necessarily need. So then you start identifying a lot of people have more things that they don't need versus bills and necessities. So that's one way
true.
to actually to identify how you have poor behaviors is looking at your bank statements, pulling them out, highlighting them, looking to see. I use pink, yellow, and blue. And so the blue was like things that you really don't need. And the whole, like a lot, it was a sea of blue versus a sea of pink that's bills. And so that's one way to actually become conscious of your poor behaviors, because a lot of times we're not conscious. It's just done unconsciously.
But yeah, I definitely would say that. It's just like, what is that? Let me see. What is that thing I actually heard? It was that this man one day asked his wife, exactly, honey, why do you always cut the roast before you put it in the pot? Mm-hmm. And she was like, I don't know. And then she said, well, let me check with mama. And then mama actually had said, She asked Mama the question. I don't know. And then she said, let me check with Big Mama. She's like, well, honey, it's because the pot was too small,
Right.
you know, just because it was always done that way. It's the way they were doing it. And, you know, it kind of lines up with that a lot of people right now are actually, you know, doing things that, you know, I think you said once before that actually are passed down from generation to generation. It almost becomes like just a thing to do.
Right.
And I mean, like, specific. I know you were talking about you have the bank statements that come in and you outline different things as far as like, and I like how you said blue, the things you don't need, that sea of blue. And I'm just like, man, I would have thought red, but it makes sense when you put it that way. So the thing is, I mean, what do you generally find out? Is it like people like eating out all the time? People that just, I don't know, impulsive buying when they go to the grocery store? What are those specific things?
I would say, with the gas station runs, I mean, it'd be like $2-3 here, for whatever when you go into the gas station. And I know I had one person, they would go to the gas station every day, and it was like, and it was $5. If you think about it, you going to the gas station and you picking up snacks. What snacks are, like, I used to work at a gas station, so I know firsthand there's nothing sometimes that you will spend easily of $5. So if you think about it, you're spending $5 every time you go up in there, and you go up in there 5 days a week, because it becomes routine for you to get, if you're working, you know, you're traveling, you get a bottle of soda, which is $1.98 now, and you get a bag of chips, which is $1.69. So there right there is $4. And so it's just like, you know, you spend easily a good $20 on snacks a week just for one stop. Then you start adding that for the whole month. You know, that's $80 just on snacks. And so it's like, that is a poor money management, because if you know you want this snack, go to the grocery store and buy that snack, whatever it may be, in bulk. That way you don't have to go to the store. It's stuff like that we're not conscious of, and it's always unconscious that we're doing.
I mean, definitely. Well, you have to say you've got to have some foreknowledge, a little pre-planning as far as like what you need to do, and it kind of goes along with what you said. What I was sharing with my wife, and how, you know, we've got some associates of ours back from Slidell, and you know, they're into the working out and everything a whole lot, and then of course, you know, he basically taught his wife to actually get in shape, but then she did a visual shot of their refrigerator, and I showed it to my wife, and it must have been close to 30 to 40 pre-made meals that are in this refrigerator, and that just blew my mind away that, you know, they had that much discipline to, you know, actually get all of that taken care of. And I mean, this is like something, this next question, you know, and I think really I want to really hold this question back as far as like when we come back from the break, because it's like something that is really going to expand into a lot of areas. But look, Danielle is actually talking to you right now, and you know, you never really see these little small tidbits of where this dollar goes here, $2 there, $3 there. But look, God is really opening your mindset to be prepared to where he's going to prepare, you know, your vats for that new harvest and that new flow of wine and, you know, prosperity that's coming through. So look, stay in your moment, and we'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to In the Moment with Kortia, who's in on this Thriving Thursday. And hey, wow, if you didn't know, we've got Miss Danielle Bailey in the house today, and she's breaking it down to us on, you know, really how to discover poor money management behaviors. And, you know, Danielle, I'll tell you, that little tidbit you gave us right before the break about, you know, how some of us just go ahead and, you know, going to the get gas, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's a little chip here, a cold drink there, and then, you know, you're running around, and at the end of the week you might plan for yourself, hey, why don't I go ahead and reward myself and get this little movie, and then you look at your account and then you're like, well, where'd that money go to? You know. But let me just ask you, how with that, and you know, in this next question, I've got this visual as far as like what this next question goes into, but how can, you know, poor money management easily disguise, you know, a person's depression or, you know, their anxiety?
It can easily disguise it, like for anxiety, or even depression. Like when you're having a bad day or you're feeling down, we tend to spend a lot more unconsciously. A lot of this stuff is just, it's a feeling, and it makes us feel better when we go and spend money. I'm not talking about your occasional, once in a while where you go slip up and you just go and buy something. But I'm talking about when you are upset or when you're anxious, you immediately go to the store and you buy something to make yourself feel better. And then you're just like, or either when you're having an anxious moment and you go to Walmart and you go up in there for one thing, but you leave out of there with so much other stuff, and it's unconsciously that you're really trying to cope with your anxiety, and just instead of going home and just really decompressing and just really just trying to figure out what's going on. So it's just like with the whole, it can cover depression, it can cover anxiety, it can cover so much stuff that we just don't know until you actually sit down and you start really focusing in on your money, and you're going to be like, okay, I was a little depressed, I was upset or I was anxious. Somebody made me mad at work. So that sent me out to go and buy something. Like, you can control your spending. You can't control sometimes your depression or your anxiety. So it's more so of a control thing too sometimes.
I mean, and I'm thinking about that, and it kind of, you go ahead in to the store, okay, and you buy something and just say you're trying to make yourself feel better.
Right.
But then, I used to go through this a lot, really bad. I guess primarily just because of the way I was raised by my grandparents, especially my grandfather, okay? I see a lot of people that'll go in, and, not singling out the ladies, but I've seen a lot of ladies and heard them, they'll go in, just to make myself feel better, I'm going to pick up these shoes.
Right.
They get these shoes, they're like, oh, these look great.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, why did I buy these shoes? That buyer's remorse. And it's like it compounds what they were trying to alleviate, but then it gets worse.
Right. And then you have all this unnecessary stuff in your house, and then it's causing clutter, and then it's, you have a wealth of stuff, but it's just like your insides is still in shambles because you're not dealing with the underlying issue of it. We just have stuff. A lot of people, we have stuff. In today's society, we have stuff, but we have a poor, we have poor like feelings, and we deal with depression a lot. And it's just like some of that stuff started to become cluttered. Then we start hardening, and it's a lot.
Absolutely.
And it's just like if you was to deal with that underlying issue of what it really is, you wouldn't have so much stuff. And then you start going into debt. Because we're trying to keep up with our feeling. We're trying to buy ourselves. And then it could go back to your family history. Like, what did your mom do to help you feel better? Did she buy you stuff? Do we place value on stuff?
That's good.
And we place value on stuff.
That's good. I never even thought about that, to where you kind of, for someone that may have been a caregiver for you, that when you were feeling down, you take whatever they did to make you feel better, and you try to carry that over as far as like in your adult life. I never would have thought of it like that. But I mean, there are a lot of people out there, Danielle, the poor money spending habits. And I mean, my wife and I, we can tell you, look, we were at one point in our life.
Right.
If we wanted it, we just got it.
Right.
Okay. It was almost like checking account. Who needs a checking account? As long as I don't have to see what it says, the money is always going to be there.
Right.
And it kind of sounds like, that's a lot what you're saying, is that people want to give this, like, create this illusion that, almost like sometimes like with our own government, let's just print enough money, even though there's nothing to back it. And it's, it's just always going to be there. But, I mean, as far as, with people, as far as like how you said, they just go and spend money to combat some type of emotional issue, whether it's depression or whatever that's actually going on. I mean, is there something that can actually help someone in that area to like just identify that they're about to really jump off the deep end?
I would say it takes when we were talking during break, I believe, it's planning. Okay, like when you're with this whole money thing, you have to be conscious in what you do. So another thing that I do ask people to do is I ask them to carry a notebook and journal. Like, journaling is so important. I know we talk about it a lot in therapy about journaling your feelings, but really journaling your money habits too. It's the same thing. Like, what happened during that day? Why did you feel this way? You're going to be able to identify triggers and stuff like that. So now when you're journaling, when you're writing this stuff down, it's different when it's not in front of you, when you don't see it. Like the whole bank statements when we talked about. Like, it's different if you don't see it, but when you see it, it's different. And it's written down, it's handwritten, like they say in in therapy, you know, if your notes are not written, it didn't happen. So when you start putting pen to paper and you start really seeing like what it is, then you're able to identify what happened. You're able to identify your triggers and how to move forward in that. But really getting a journal and journaling, like why you spent that money, what was happening, how were you feeling in that moment, and how did it make you feel afterwards.
That's good. That's good. And that brings up something to me. And I think it was the first time I actually heard this, and it was 4 or 5 years ago, and it kind of stuck with me. And you just gave a little bit more of a breakdown to it. I remember that Bishop T.D. Jakes actually said when he was talking about why people aren't more successful as far as like in life. And I didn't get it until God gave me the revelation after. He said, if you bring me your cell phone, and based upon the top 5-10 people you have, I can tell you where you are as far as like in your household. And he said, bring, just like you said, if I see your checking account, I can tell you exactly where you are. Without even coming into your house, I can tell you exactly where you are. And do you, and in saying that, I mean, would you actually say that someone needs to, well, I don't know, possibly even watch the people they are connected with?
Yes, especially like really just understanding what their mind frame is, because sometimes we do a lot with our friends. Our friends can call and say, hey, let's go do this or let's go do that. And I constantly like, yeah, let's go. Especially if you're not strong enough. Like my friends already know, do not contact me about going somewhere the day of, because if it ain't in my budget, I'm not going to go. They need to contact me a month in advance. So like if they're doing
a month in advance, she said,
because because I do my budget a month in advance.
Well, that's good.
So if you are having a birthday party, tell me in a month in advance. Do you want to go or can you go? And I'll be like, okay, yes, no, but like. And if it's a big thing, you got to contact me 2-3 months in advance so I can really start setting aside that money. And it's just like, they may look at me crazy, but like my finances are in order. And so I encourage anybody like that, like really just hang out. And my people respect me with that or whatever. Half of them come to me for money advice anyway. So when you start really just putting it out there like, hey, I'm living on this budget, I want to do better with my finances. If they're not supporting you, well, those are the people that don't need to be around you, because it's going to actually eventually it's going to keep on a downward spiral. With finances, you need people in your corner that's going to be supportive, because you're already yourself battling with trying to make this shift, trying to make this change, and it's an emotional type thing. So you need all the support you can get around you and stuff like that. So if they're not supporting you with your finances and you trying to live on a budget, just limit yourself with them. But yes.
That's good. That's good. And, I guess that goes into the whole realm of, in whatever area of your life, the type of people literally that you surround yourself with are going to be a reflection of really who you are as well. And, I'm thinking about it now, you speaking, and I'm just saying to myself, wow, as my wife and I, we first got married and coming up, I would actually say every single person that was actually around us pretty much was in that mental state for the most part about, hey, if you see it, go ahead and get it. Impulsive buying.
Right.
We've talked before on the radio show. We used to call ourselves jokingly, but we really saw how we were trying to fit that mold. Mr. and Mrs. Jones.
Yeah.
Trying to establish ourselves as, the ones that have. And just like you said, that you try to have so much to where you'll find yourself in bankruptcy or, what have you afterwards. Danielle, I know we usually wait till later, but this is very, very vital so that people know. Why don't you go ahead before we go into the next break? Why don't you give your contact information so they can know how to reach you?
Okay, you can reach me at 318-613-0147, or you can email me at freedomtherapycenter at gmail.com. And where else can you? Or Facebook at Danielle Bailey, or either on on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel where I actually document my life as an entrepreneur, and I actually show my real life budget. So you can catch me on YouTube at Danielle Bailey LCSW.
Wow, that's good. You heard it? You're trying to figure out how to do a budget. Now she has it on YouTube to give you instructions on how to go step by step in creating a budget. And that's definitely something that a lot of us would actually need, and it would actually have great benefits for us. So look, like I said, God is bringing it to you. And look, it's not by chance that she's here on Thriving Thursday, because that's what God wants you to do in your life, thrive, not in just one area, but every area of your life.
Right.
So look, why don't you stay tuned, stay in your moment, and we'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to In the Moment with Kortia Kuzan, and hey, definitely, you know we've got Danielle Bailey of Freedom Therapy Center LLC in our station with us today. Danielle, I think they're really attentive to everything that you've been saying this morning because guess what? If you haven't been, I know I am. And look, I love it. She's come into the house. I mean, she's sitting on side of me, got her Facebook Live going all at the same time,
Yes.
and people are, asking questions over the Facebook Live. I mean, I just love it. I mean, I really, really do. And I mean, that just lets you know exactly how attentive and how people really need, exactly what God is bringing, through you. And I mean, it's just really powerful. You know what actually came to me, Danielle, right before we came back up? I remember because of Pastor Greg, our pastor. He's like one of these like real got to keep ship shape thing when it comes to the finances and everything of that sort. And he's giving a lot of testimonies as far as like in the realm of finances. And he's kind of goes along the line of what you're saying. He was like, some of you praying to God for an increase or raise and everything like that.
Right.
And he said you can increase or promote yourself financially if you get your finances in line.
Right.
So it definitely lines up with everything that you're talking about. So, I mean, Danielle, let me just ask you this. I know we were talking, let me just state this. I know before we were talking about associations with people, and I mean, that's like scriptural because, a little leaven up the whole lump, okay? And then, of course, those impulsive buys, those foxes that are nipping at the vine, the little things that you do to take away every so often. But, I mean, how important is it to really identify poor money management behaviors and then learn, new coping skills and come up with a plan to address, the poor money management behaviors?
Like, it's very important. Like, once you realize that, hey, I got a problem, I need to fix it. Then you start, if you're a Christian, you go into prayer about it. Like, God, lead me to the right person or whatever it may be to help me or him just, reveal it to you. So when you start really digging deep into it and you really start understanding or whatever, like, okay, that this is a problem, start speaking life into it. Start speaking over your finances. Having a positive attitude towards your finances is key because a lot of time when we start figuring out that, Lord, it's a problem, and you become so overwhelmed. So when you're overwhelmed, you don't want to deal with it. You push it to the side. But in actuality, it's just like, okay, you take it a little bit at a time because some of us, like, it's so bad. It's bad. But it's just like, it's manageable. Like, never think that it's not manageable. Start really quoting scripture to yourself and start really with the whole positive affirmations like, I can dig myself up out of this, and really start looking at your finances a little bit at a time. I wouldn't say jump full force in it. Maybe put a little toe in there and then ease yourself into this thing. Or if you do decide, go to somebody and allow somebody to actually dive in with it. With you, and that way you can actually get that support. I tend to tell my people all the time, like, it's bad, it may be bad right now, and I'm not gonna lie about it, but it can get better. Like, we can work through this, you can fix this. And so really just start speaking that type of life into yourself, like, this is not the end. Yes, I'm gonna have to make some sacrifices right now to get up out this mess, but I can get up out this mess. Put mantras on your wall and stuff like that. Remind you how people pour into you with finances, positive stuff, not necessarily give you money, because even if somebody was to give you money to fix it, you have not worked on the issue yet. It's just going to turn itself back over. Right. And when you're saying that, I love how, and I've seen this before, I mean, it's happened to us, to where you want help in a certain area, and it seems special, like in the area of finances, okay? And in your mind, you're looking at someone that you perceive is on a higher level than you are financially, okay? And instead of them just flat out, like you're saying, analyzing what's going on in your life and saying, okay, you're messing up here, messing up there, but there is hope. As far as like with us and different people that I've seen, well, it's all right, honey. I've gone through that, and you'll get through this too because I got through it. And they really don't give you any kind of practical steps or guidance to actually get you out of that. And
you know, it's like how you were talking about those positive affirmations and everything that need to go forth from that. And, you know, my wife and I, we were just talking about that before we even drove in today, listening to a message yesterday. We've done it many times, and you just don't stop doing this. It's almost like in Ezekiel, speaking to those dry bones.
Yes.
Like speaking to your finances, speaking life into those finances.
Right, and really getting encouraged and really just getting that power. God has given us power. So really, I know that sometimes you can get empowered to where you just like, you're mad and you're just like, I'm really going to conquer this. That's the attitude that you have to have. It's just like speaking life into your finances. Like, this is not going to kill me, and this is not going to be the end of me. I shall leave my generational wealth to my children's children and stuff like that. Really start speaking life and mean it.
Yeah. And you know what? It kind of comes to me like we all know that the enemy, okay? We all know that the enemy, he has got to get us, for him to have any kind of effect in our life, he has got to get us to focus on, you know, our circumstances or apparent circumstances. And, you know, I equate that to this, okay? What do you have or what do you haven't? Like I said, I haven't been saved all my life, so I'm just going to be real, okay? It's almost like that not the later version, but I'm talking about the original version of the, like, Wizard of Oz, okay? And it's basically like when Dorothy got to that curtain and Oz just seemed like he was so terrible, so overwhelming, you know, like your finances, until you found out it was this old little pitiful man behind the curtain.
Yes.
And, you know, I would say that's how we need to look at our finances, okay? They look so overwhelming in the beginning.
Right.
But then you need to know that, you know, the cause behind it is really something that can be overcome.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, I mean, as far as like in that particular area, what do you actually do, Danielle, when someone comes to you and they're like, have this Goliath that they're trying to tell you about,
right,
and you're trying to give them the stone to combat Goliath? How do you kind of put that together to show them that they can go and, you know, get past that?
I'll tell them first, I'll be like, calm down. It's okay.
That's the first and foremost. Yeah, really, huh?
You know, it's okay. I reassure them that it's okay what you're going through. And I try to encourage them and be like, hey, we can make it through this. And it's just a little part of your journey. And reassure them that, you know, even give them my story about my journey and stuff like that. And just reassure them, like, we can make it through this together. And I give them and I really say that together because, like, we're in this together. And I let them know that, hey, it's somebody else that's rooting for you in this situation right here. And then I start giving them practical tips and stuff like that. Like, this is the little stuff that we're going to do to get you there. Give you an outline, and we don't even look at the bigger picture. We don't, because it's like that's so overwhelming. But if we can get this done this week,
that's true.
Give you step by step, week by week. You do this week, this is what's going to happen. And then before you know it, the wheels is going to everything is just going to start lining up by itself. But I give you a little bit. I don't give you the whole thing shebang because it's so overwhelming. But let's take it week by week, you know. And then for some people, they have to take it day by day because it's like their emotional state. Like, it's just so overwhelming sometimes. You never give too much more than a person can handle. Like the Bible says, God will never give you more than you can handle and stuff like that, than you can bear. So I'm the same way. Like, let's just do it this week. Let's make sure our lights stay on. Like, celebrate that and really celebrate your success.
That's good. That's good.
Whatever.
I mean, and you know, right before we go to break, let me ask you this really quick question. Do you feel that it's more maybe couples or married people that go through, you know, things with their finances, or single people? It's pretty much the same. It's
really pretty much the same. And truthfully, a single person, you have it better. Like, because it's just you to convince yourself to get on board. Married people, you got to convince your spouse. Like, one spouse can be ready to work, and the other spouse can be like, nah, this is just too much. So now you got one spouse working, and you got the other spouse not doing nothing. So that right there in itself is a conflict. So single people, I know you think that, oh, the married people, you know, they have more money. They might have more money, but if they're not on the same page, it's worse. It's a problem. It's a big problem.
Hey, you hear that? It's talking about being on one accord, and God wants you to be definitely on one accord with Him, your spouse, and guess what? Yourself.
Right.
And changing these money management habits. So look, definitely, I know He's reaching you. Look, stay in your moment, definitely, and we're going to be right back after this break. Welcome back to In the Moment with Kortia Kuzan on this thriving Thursday, and definitely we have Danielle Bailey in the house with us today of Freedom Therapy Center LLC. And you know, it came to me because I know some of you out there listening, some of you are taking notes right now, but if you actually have a quick question, why don't you call in at 318-484-2500 and, you know, ask Danielle about, you know, any kind of tip that she may give as far as like in, you know, handling different finances or things that you may be struggling with at that particular point in time. So Danielle, I mean, during the break, you brought up something, and you know, my wife said, yeah, that she admitted that, and you know, a lot of us as parents, right, okay, if you have kids, because of whatever situations that we may have been raised in and where we come from, we get into this mindset, all right, and some of us will go into debt doing this. My kids have to have more than I did when I was coming up. I mean, how have you seen that as far as like, you know, in your practice with some parents?
Yes, I get that a lot actually, and it's just like, oh, I need to do this for my kids. My kids need to have that. And in actuality, your kids just need to have the basic needs. That's your own personal thing that you're passing off on your kids. So like your kids just need to have your basic needs, and they need more than anything something that you were not taught: financial literacy. That's what your kids really need, instead of buying the latest Jordans. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I will not say nothing's wrong with buying the latest Jordan, but when you're going into debt or when you are not able to have a savings account for your kid, like, stop it. Stop buying them the Jordans and start really saving for their future and stuff. Really, if you want to do anything, invest in Jordan and invest in Nike and all this other kind of stuff. Really start sitting down with your kids. Your kids need to learn more about finances versus than having stuff. And the reason why I just keep calling it stuff, and I say stuff because it's just that.
Yes.
It's a plethora of things.
Yes.
And it's just like, allow our kids to really understand about finances and breaking it down, and stop going into debt. Stop working your back off just to get your kid the latest game that he's not even going to play within a couple of weeks.
That is true. I mean, that is really, really true. I mean, it's kind of funny you say that way, because I've been, since we actually talked about going into the store, you know, and everything during the break, I have been around parents, and this kid is like in the electronics area, and they want some latest whatever it is that's come out. And I've heard parents actually say, well, I just bought you such and such last month or what have you. Well, yeah, but this is the newest thing.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All my friends have this, and it's like we're trying to enable our kids to, you know, not only fit in with the stuff that we didn't have, but to fit in socially, so they don't become like some kind of pariah to stick out like a sore thumb with, you know, their peers.
Right.
And, you know, just like you said, it's one thing to try to do and supply your children with the basic needs.
Right.
But then, you know, like some of these parents, okay, I literally see expressions of stress on their face. They're rubbing their heads like, how am I going to get this? How am I going to do this? And, you know, it kind of goes back to my grandfather with what you said, the basic needs. Now, he may have had something like maybe a first, second grade education, and then all of a sudden, the only thing I remember him telling me, if you are not able to pay for it in cash, you don't need it.
Like, and look, I work with one of my friends, and like, she just put something on Facebook, and she reminds me of when I told her, I was like, put them kids on a budget. Like, put your kids in your budget and say that they're gonna get like $10 or whatever it may be. Like, put your kids on a budget, and if you really want them kids to have whatever that is, make them work for it. Don't just hand it out. Don't just hand it over and just give it to them. Make them really work for it. Make them really save. You pay them and you make them save for it. And that way, you know, when you start saving, you tend to value stuff a little bit more, or you may not even want it. You know, you can tell them, look, hey, if you want this game, we're going to put this in place where you're teaching them about work. You're teaching them about saving and all of that, why they're trying to achieve the certain thing that you want them to have as well as they want to have. So if it's the latest game, well, get out here and work. You do chores around the house. You do this. Like, get them up and working and moving. Don't just hand it over to them. Really put stuff in place. It's okay for them to have stuff. It's okay for you to get your kids stuff. But when it starts going into, you know, a problem, as in you going into debt, or you just really feeling overwhelmed and pressured to buy something for your kid, that's the issue.
Right. And I was just listening to you before as far as like a budget with your kids, and I mean, I can think of so many things right now as far as like, again, with my grandfather. I've said this story many times to different people, and when I first told my wife this, I remember her eyes, how big they got, that where my grandfather and all the things he had me to do. You're talking about a list of things. It was, I tell people stuff about this now, and they probably say, man, your grandfather was crazy and stuff, but he'd give me $10 in a month, and then I had to show him at least $5 of that money the following month before the next $10 came. And it wasn't cleaning dishes. It was like, cutting grass, digging out ditches, doing all that. And it was $10 for the month. But I mean, it really, at that point in time, it really sharpened me on how to save and hold on to, what I had, and know the value of money. And I think that's what it really is that, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of people just don't appreciate money to an extent and really don't perceive the real value of money. And I think, do you believe that a lot of people just fall into the mindset that it's just always going to be there?
Yes, they think that it's always going to be there, and that it's if you're not careful, kids think that it's easy to get. That they don't understand what the whole concept and how you get money, and how you work hard for it and things of that nature. Especially if you're not teaching them. If you're not teaching them that mommy's going to work every day or daddy's going to work every day to be able to provide for us, they're just going to think that you can go pick it up. Like, it's more money, or either using your credit card. Just use your credit card. When people say that their kid is just like, mommy, use your credit card, that makes me cringe, because that lets me know that they use it a lot, but you're also not teaching them that you have to pay for it. Right.
And I mean, there's so many different things, like you said, that we like overlook. And, I'm going to call it, we say impulsive buying, but I'm gonna call it like those in the heat of the moment type deals. And how you were talking with finishing up with like kids and whatnot. And there's so many parents right now, and the kids have the parents trained going through a checkout. Hey, I want this. No, you can't have this. Well, guess what? I'm gonna throw this little temper tantrum right now, and I'm gonna get everything I want to have. I mean, how I know putting kids on a budget and different things, but what advice that you would give to parents or just people in general, as far as like when it comes to kids, how could looking at your kids or looking at someone that you might be a caregiver to be a reflection of what you need to correct as far as like in your spending?
I would say when with that question right there, really take the time and really just evaluate looking at this kid and seeing if a kid can't handle going into the store and leaving without purchasing something, don't take them to the store. Not right now.
Whoop whoop, you heard it.
just not right now. Just don't take them to the store. They got that whole Walmart pickup thing now, which I think is very convenient. So if a kid is going to make you spend more money, try not to take them. And I know some parents will be like, well, I can't, they have to come with me. Well, when you go up in there, really coach them. Go in, go out. Do not, and you have to be real. You have to be
lay the ground rules.
Lay the ground rules, and understand that people they pay for marketing. These companies pay for marketing to have stuff on the lower shelf level because they want to catch kids' attention. And so, this is a marketing scheme. This is psychology that these people have actually paid for. So when you see your kids looking at stuff, no, turn your eyes back to this bucket. Keep it forward. We only here for this, and really scope out the aisles of the grocery market. Do not do leisure. Go in, go out, and keep it going.
All right, Danielle, and right before we head on out to the why don't you one last time give them your contact information so they'll know how to reach you.
All right, you can reach me at 318-613-0147. You can contact me at freedomtherapycenter@gmail.com or Facebook, Danielle Bailey, Freedom Therapy Center, or even on YouTube at Danielle Bailey, LCSW.
And you heard it here today on this Thriving Thursday that our God was speaking through Danielle, and she's definitely helping you out as far as in the realm of your finances. Hey, look. Take this tidbit, marinate on, and let God just really go ahead and revelate all that he has in store for you. So look, God loves you most. We love you even so. But look, take care. God bless. Stay in your moment. And right after us, we got On Point Talk with Carlette Christmas and David Christmas. Take care. See you on tomorrow.